Hi everyone, and welcome back to the 12 Days of SwitchUp, where we're going to look at some of the best upcoming games of next year.
Yes, we are indeed. So we've got 10 games here that are coming next year. As far as we know, at least, it's always difficult to nail down unless they've got obviously a date to come out for. But we've got 10 games here that we are looking forward to should they arrive next year.
Lovely. Let us know in the comments what game you're most looking forward to. Remember, we will be giving away that Nintendo Switch OLED on the very last day of our 12 Days of SwitchUp.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, so with all that said, which games are we most looking forward to for 2023? Well, let's find out.
First up then, coming out on the 24th of February next year, or supposedly, we've got Octopath Traveler 2.
Yeah, so of course Octopath Traveler came out on the Switch a while ago now. It was a relatively early game from Square Enix, an RPG, very old school in some respects, but it utilised that lovely art style, didn't it? The HD 2D or 2D HD, I forget which way around that goes, which has been used in other games since by Square to good effect. But it was the kind of the idea of having so many different characters in this game and following the different storylines that made it quite endearing.
So it's funny, isn't it? Because we had Live Alive that we've spoken about over the year, and that was a nice update of a classic. But actually, you can see Octopath Traveler took a lot of those ideas.
Yes, absolutely right. And what was interesting is that it took ideas from games that Westerners might not have known about. So it all felt very fresh in Octopath. Whereas obviously it had been done before. But that's not to discredit Octopath Traveler at all. It was a fantastic game, and it'll be really interesting to see where they go with this sequel.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult act to follow, I'll say that.
I would say so, yeah.
All the tasty meat you want. I need to rediscover who I am.
Explore a wide world set in a bustling era. Each traveler's path.
A big thank you to Qubic Games for sponsoring this episode. As some of you may know, Qubic are quite prolific publishers of games on the Nintendo Switch and are incredibly generous with their sales that they put their games on, doing so often and reducing the prices to insanely low amounts, often under £1, or offering further discounts to people who own any of their previous titles. They currently have such a sale on just in time for Christmas, and we have just made a full video on this, giving a rundown of what the games are all about and just how cheap they currently are. Click in the top right hand corner for the full story, but notable ones include Dex, Beautiful Desolation and Hong Kong Massacre, which are all available for less than £1 at this moment in time. As well as this, they are running a contest on their website, cubicgames.com/Xmas, where you have the chance to win a number of LEGO sets or eShop credit by registering your purchase of one of their games or their partners, Untold Tales, Naptime and All In Games, and answering a few questions. The most interesting answers are all in with a chance of winning. Link to that website is in the top pinned comment, and good luck to all of you that enter. Thank you again to Qubic Games for sponsoring this episode. Okay, the next game is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Now, this is a game that came out on the Wii originally. I'm quite a big fan of the Kirby games. I like the Kirby games. And this was, as far as I can remember, it was one of the first traditional 2D Kirby platformers in a while, so people were very excited for it, and it was a great game. It was a very enjoyable game. Now, obviously, we've had quite a few Kirby games since, 2D Kirby games, so I don't know how people feel about this one now in terms of excitement levels, but it is definitely a game that's well worth playing for those of you that haven't played it before.
Yeah, I think the last Kirby game I played was on the Game Boy, to be honest.
Yeah,
and I loved it. It was
a
great game.
That was a very good game.
But this one comes out on the same day as Octopath.
Yeah, which is quite an interesting choice, I must say. But it will be interesting to see how this one does, because I think obviously Kirby had the 3D game last year, which did very well. So it'll be interesting to see how the anticipation for a new 2D game, or not a new 2D game, but another 2D game is when that releases.
Absolutely.
Try Kirby. All sub-games can be played with up to 4 players. An adventure of deluxe proportions awaits.
I think the next one is one that caught our eye in a Nintendo Direct or something similar, maybe an indie Direct, and it's the Plucky Squire.
Yes.
Yeah. The whole thing takes place out of this book, doesn't it? Like a fantasy book.
Yeah, it's whenever a game does something like that, it just immediately piques my interest.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they try something slightly different or a little quirky, and this, judging by the trailer, looks lovely, doesn't it?
It really does. Like you say, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work, but just on a purely aesthetic basis, it looks stunning, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's sometimes for me that's enough to at least give a game a go, you know. So not a huge amount to say about this one, but judging by what we've seen, it's just one of those games that we're very much looking forward to.
Something rather curious. A world he never knew existed.
Right, the next one, my most anticipated from what we know of next year so far, this is Pikmin 4. Now, we don't know very much at all about this particular game. There was a trailer dropped in one of the directs that was literally 30 seconds long, showed one of the enemies, and that was your lot. But in terms of the Pikmin series, I've enjoyed this from the very first one that released back on the GameCube. And I love this series because it does two things that I really enjoy. First of all, it has a gameplay mechanic whereby you really care about your characters, and that's not always easy to do in a game by making them cute and then literally they'll die for you, you know, and you do feel bad when they do. But it also sets itself in a larger than life environment, you know, where you are shrunk down and you can see huge tin cans and flowers, and I always enjoy that. Ever since seeing like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,
I was going to say,
yeah, back in the day, you know, I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah, this is a series I've not played at all, so I am looking forward to hopefully being able to jump in with Pikmin 4. I mean, I reviewed that Tinykin game this year, and that was lovely. That was very Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes, yeah, and it took that kind of Pikmin idea, didn't it, and ran with it and did a good job with it. Pikmin 3, of course, is on the Switch, was on the Wii U originally. Fantastic game, I love that one. So I really do hope they go all out with this one, because Pikmin 4 has been touted for a long time and hasn't, you know, nothing has come of it. So I hope they really make it worth the wait, you know.
Is Pikmin open world or is it level based?
It's level based. You have areas that you travel to where you need to collect whatever it is in that game that you are collecting. It could be ship parts, fruit, you know, whatever the story dictates that you need. But there will be some parts of that you can't get because you don't yet have the Pikmin necessary to reach higher areas or go underwater, whatever. So some days you could land somewhere and waste a whole day because you can't get anything, you know, and it's knowing the environment and knowing what you need. They're just lovely games, really good games.
Nice. I wonder if there is a potential for, if it could work within an open world environment, you know, a bit of free roaming, and that would be really tricky, I should imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, if they try it, I hope they try it now. I hope they give the series a big push and, you know, and give us something that was, as I said, that was worth waiting for.
Next up then, we've got Disney Illusion Land, and I knew as soon as I saw this I was going to get a message from you, Glenn, saying, oh my goodness, that looks amazing.
Yeah, I see, I'm not even the biggest Disney fan, but what I do really enjoy is that kind of classic 1920s to 1940s animation style. Yeah. And obviously Disney was a big part of that, and Mickey Mouse in particular. And this kind of blends the two. You have that old school animation of the characters, you know, Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, whoever else is in it, but you kind of have more modern environments, and it just looks like a really interesting mesh of styles.
Yeah, we've seen some good examples of this genre, haven't we? Things like Rayman Legends are like the pinnacle.
Yes.
And this does the 4-player co-op as well. I wonder how challenging it's going to be. You know, I wonder if it's going to be accessible. You'd think it would be accessible.
You would think it would be, but then...
But maybe not.
I don't know, probably these days. But I mean, I'm thinking back to the old school Disney games that were made by like Capcom. Yeah. And they were tough, you know. Yeah. Or the Lion King.
The Lion King as well.
That was Virgin, that wasn't Capcom, but that was one of the hardest games ever.
Disgraceful.
It was so hard, yeah. So we'll see.
I've just had a horrible flashback of jumping across the heads of giraffes or something. Was that in that game?
Yeah, that was in there. No, it was always the Stampede level that used to do me in. It's painful.
You used to put up with a lot as a kid, didn't you?
Do you
remember?
You really did, yeah.
Ouch.
Okay, we'll explain.
TBD! TBD! TBD!
Wait, are those placeholder words or the actual words?
Yes.
Okay, next up then is the one that I've been surely waiting for. That's weird. Is Hollow Knight Silksong, and I know we talk about it a lot, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, this was one that I think most people would have expected to be out by now, to be honest. And then it just went so quiet, or has gone so quiet. But there have been some whisperings that it may be kind of mid-2023.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely coming because, well, I'd say definitely because Microsoft in their presentation said that it would launch on Xbox Game Pass within 12 months.
I see.
Which puts it at July at the latest.
Hence the date. Okay.
Yeah, so, and I can't see them, you know.
reneging on that.
Exactly right. But it's one of those where everyone says, "Oh, take your time, take your time." But I played a build of this back in 2019, and it felt like solid. I know it could have just been a very small demo.
Yeah, exactly right. I remember that was at EGX, wasn't it? And as you say, it just felt so polished then, but it could have just been they'd literally just made that portion. But hopefully it'll be this year. And
And until then, every time there's anything, we'll just hope for it.
Absolutely.
And then be disappointed.
That too. Okay, the next ones, we'll bundle them together. You've got the Persona ports. So that's Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden. So of course we've had Persona 5 Royal come out this year, 2022. And these two games, 4 was certainly a PSP game. I'm not quite sure about 3. I can't remember. I'm assuming it was on the PSP 2, hence the portable name. But the Persona series is just one that's got such a huge following, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the PSP. PS2 as well, like you say.
Yeah.
You're spot on. But yeah, I mean, as you know, I hadn't played Persona at all.
Yeah.
Other than actually this year, because Strikers was this year as well.
Strikers, I believe, was this year. Might have been last year.
All right. Well,
obviously, that's a different take, isn't it?
Yeah, that was my first take in this universe at all.
Yeah,
that was my first experience.
Yeah.
And then Royal has just been a bit of a delight. Is it my understanding correct that 5 is better than 4, or
4 was very well loved before 5 came out.
Right.
I mean, of course, I don't know what the general consensus is now about which game is better, but I know that 4 will be a very worthy addition for the Switch. I don't know a lot about 3. 3 is the one that I don't know much about at all. I don't know a lot about this series because I have played Shin Megami Tensei more, which this is a spin-off of. But it will be nice to have those 2 games in the Switch library. It can only enrich it,
Exactly right. Yeah, and they did a good enough job before, didn't they? So
yeah, for sure.
Something to look forward to.
Keep your eyes peeled for more Persona
On Nintendo Switch!
Okay, our next pick then is Fire Emblem Engage. Now this will be the latest in the Fire Emblem games to hit the Switch, having had 3 Houses come out a couple of years ago now. Fire Emblem is a series that I do have a good history with, but I've kind of fallen away from a little bit just because of time, really. I don't have the time to play it as much anymore. But I played it back on the Game Boy Advance. I played Fire Emblem 2, and I knew nothing about it. I just found it randomly in a shop and absolutely fell in love with it. And it's nice to see the series has become so successful because it was kind of... there was a time where it was now or never for Nintendo. They were going to give up on it, and then they made Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS, which was a huge success. They made it a bit more accessible, and it's gone from strength to strength ever since,
Yeah, it's funny because I'm a big fan of tactical turn-based titles, and I've never really played Fire Emblem. I've never put as much time as I could into it. I don't feel I've really fully experienced them. I wonder if anyone can tell me in the comments, does it really suit that style of fan, I guess? Does it match with the XCOM style of play? How does it work?
Yeah, it's more grid-based. I mean, back in the day, the 2 games that I played most in that style were Fire Emblem and Advance Wars, of course, which was also on the Game Boy Advance, and they were just fantastic. They're the sort of games you take on holiday and you play on the plane and things like that. They're proper time sinks. But I don't know what to expect of this new one. I haven't played enough of 3 Houses to really be any sort of authority on this series anymore.
Yeah.
I'm more of the past games, but I do love the fact that it is so popular now.
Absolutely. It's looking good though, isn't it?
It is looking good, yeah, it is.
If I may, you are a divine dragon, a member of a royal family of dragons revered as deities.
The war. The Fell Dragon. I feel like I can almost remember.
Alright, next up then we've got Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. Have I said that right?
Yes, that's the one.
So they had the spin-off game that came out recently, Eiyuden Chronicles Rising, which is essentially a prequel, which I'm guessing is introducing or has introduced me to a lot of the cast that will be in this one, or perhaps it's just the world. There's a bit of a time... Spoilers. There's something that happens towards the end that does very much set up the potential next game.
Okay, so this was on Kickstarter, wasn't it? And it, as far as I have read, at least, it absolutely smashed its target. People are really highly anticipating this game, And the wait is nearly over. Obviously, it's going to be next year.
I think, it did 400 million yen, which I just Googled, to 2.8 million pounds.
Wow.
So that's about, $3.5 million.
Yeah, it must be, give or take. I wonder what its target was. So it'd be interesting if anyone knows to put it in the comments. What were they aiming for to obviously receive so much more?
Yeah, this has similarities, in a weird way, to one of your favourites from a couple of years back. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like that,
yes,
in terms of its styling, when you go out on your little action parts.
Segments.
Those are very similar to, well, at least to a Eiyuden Rising. I don't know whether this 100 Heroes is going to be a full-on RPG. I mean, I'm watching the trailer as we speak, actually.
Yeah.
And it looks like it uses turn-based combat in there, so perhaps it's gone, slightly different route.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One to look out for, though. And the final one, then, probably the most anticipated for many people, I would guess. This is The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, which of course is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. So Breath of the Wild came out in 2017. It was a launch game for the Switch, of course, and people have been highly anticipating its sequel ever since that tiny little teaser that was given a while ago now, many years ago now, along the same time as Metroid Prime 4, I think. So one of them's here at least. But yeah, funnily enough, I finished Breath of the Wild this year, completed it, finally went back and finished it, and my appreciation for it grew tenfold just from that. I'd kind of, again, I said it about another game recently, I was kind of milling about and not really getting anywhere after a while, enjoying my time with it, but I needed to focus and just get on and finish it, and when you do that sometimes you just, the sense of relief and seeing the rest of the game, everything that the developers wanted you to see. Man, what a fantastic game that was.
That has aged like a fine wine.
Absolutely.
The first one.
Yeah.
It really has. It's lovely to play. I'm kind of envious of any kids or anyone that's getting it for Christmas. What a game to play at Christmas.
For sure.
The sequel, we don't know anything other than the fact that there's a cloud city above what's essentially looking to be the same continent as before.
Yeah, no, it's just great that it's finally going to be here, isn't it, to see where they go next. Nintendo do a lot of things wrong, to be fair, as much as they do right. But one thing they do, when they really get to it and really put their mind in, put their A-team on it, they make a bloody good game, don't they?
Bloody good A-team.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, let's do a couple of honourable mentions then.
Yep.
So one that I would like to just say is Moniko's Night Market.
Yep.
Do you remember we saw some gameplay of that?
I do, yeah.
A long time ago. You've probably seen it on the screen now. It looked like it had those sim life elements. But my goodness, where's it gone? It's just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah, it has, isn't it? Like, completely disappeared.
Yeah.
It's strange when that happens.
It really is. I think you can, plant cats.
Okay.
I mean, if that's not the most awesome thing I've ever... I mean, you should never plant your cats, by the way.
No, don't do that.
But I'm guessing you can, grow different breeds. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, another one then is the Hogwarts game that's coming out.
Yes.
Which does have a release date on other consoles. I think it's February, if memory serves me. As far as I could see, there's no firm date for the Switch version, which is why it wasn't in our 10. But I mean, if they get that right, man, that could be something special, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
If you're a Harry Potter fan, what a game that could be.
Spectro Patronus.
Yeah, all that. Love all that. I do.
The last release, then, I think we should potentially just touch on the Switch Pro.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Do you not think we're reaching critical mass point now in terms of? I know you've got good development, which means that you can produce incredible results on Switch. But you've also got very limited budgets and time constraints, and you've got them having to make games for multiple platforms. And then when they try and bring that across to Switch, it just chugs.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's just we need new hardware, but I do feel like we're reaching that point.
I mean, if you look at it in terms of dates, it's 5 years since the Switch released. It'll be 6 years in March, I think it is. Judging by their previous habits in terms of things like the 3DS, they have always brought out some sort of enhanced model after a few years, not necessarily a Pro as such. But it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I still don't even know if it's going to happen, to be honest. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Nintendo are probably the most difficult company to predict ever. Do you know what I mean? In terms of their thought process. So if it's going to happen, you would think 2023 is the year to do it.
Do you know, I can see them doing something ludicrous like releasing a cloud-only device or something,
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't do that. That would be horrific. But the thing with them is that they'll, there'll be this murmur and it'll be like, something's coming. And then they'll release a Pokemon version or, one that it's got slightly larger joycon joysticks or something. And
Yeah.
you know, they just have that curveball in them all the time, so it's too hard to predict, I think.
All right, well, let us know your predictions in the comments. Remember, we will be picking out a winner to win that Nintendo Switch OLED. Thanks for watching the channel at this Christmas period.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah, what is left to say?
Yeah, just quickly put any games down there that you are looking forward to, the ones that we've missed. We could only pick 10, so it's quite difficult. That you're always going to miss a game that someone's looking forward to. So please do put those down below. Hope you enjoyed the ones that we've picked though, and are you looking forward to those? Well, thank you to our patrons, of course, for your continued support, and to our channel members, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.